Okay, assalamu alaikum. This episode is about personal branding. So if you've ever thought about maybe it's the right time for me to start a personal brand or for me to put myself out there a little, this episode is probably for you. If you thought, I want to put myself out there, but there's so many challenges, especially being a Muslim, a practicing Muslim, episode's probably for you. And to be honest, even if you haven't considered it, but you have thought kind of how can I make sure that I live a life that fulfills me in the sense that I can kind of be on board with this wave of, or this ideology of being able to run my own time, be comfortable, still do the work that I know, but do it in a way that gives me freedom. And that doesn't always mean not working a job. I myself am at Tartil, but alhamdulillah, I feel I have this kind of life where I can kind of work from wherever I want, when I want. Obviously, with any work, even if you run your own business, you have to fulfill your responsibilities. Otherwise, either your business is going to suffer, you're going to lose your job, and so on and so forth. But if you're watching this and you're a freshly grounded listener, that means that you're not a loser. You're a go-getter, right? So we don't have to give you all of that prefacing. So the mic's a bit further away from my mouth than it normally is, so I have a feeling that might affect the episode. Let me see if I could turn the gain up a little. Got a bit of a new setup with the mic system, so it can only literally go to this height. Or can it? Let's see if we can adjust this thing. All right, that should help. Now we're cooking with gas. All right, let me turn it down then so that you guys are not hearing your ears. Righty ho. Okay, so all right, so this episode is probably for you. So let's get started. So first of all, what is a personal brand? So a personal brand is the best way I'll say this. This episode is I've written a bunch of notes based on experiences, things that I've learned in the past, work that I've done with clients or other people who have helped build their personal brand. And so I just threw a bunch of notes on a Google Doc. I'm just going to kind of read off my notes and expand live with you guys. So it's not like some deep notes that I wrote, just a couple bullet points. But I just wanted to kind of structure the episode a bit. So the first part is, what is a personal brand? And essentially, a brand in general has, I think the best definition I found on it is a person's gut feeling about your business. So in the case of a personal brand, it would be a person's gut feeling about you and how you walk, how you talk, who you are. If somebody was to see you for the first time, what impression would they get? If you're someone who's kind of got a clean look, dresses in clean clothes, always looking smart, have your hair brushed and so on and so forth, they'll probably have a good impression of you. And that'll be a gut feeling that tends to stick with them, because people's idea of branding, once they have it, it's actually quite difficult to change that. And so that's something to bear in mind as well. A lot of it is obviously unspoken. If you think about brands that are not personal brands, so actual brands, businesses, organizations, when you think of, let's think of I always do this thing where I do it live and then I hate myself. Okay, Apple, for example. The feeling that you get with Apple, hopefully you think of the Apple store, you think friendly, you think technology first, you think easy, clean, kind of top of the range. These are the kind of things that will come to your head. When you think of McDonald's, you got the impression of cheap, affordable, for a lot of people, I suppose, safe. Wherever you go in the world, there's a McDonald's, I know it, and so on and so forth. So a personal brand is similar. A person's gut feeling about a brand, so a person's gut feeling about you when they kind of first see you in the first few seconds. In this episode, we're not going to be speaking about monetizing a personal brand. So I did that on purpose, mainly because I feel like we'll just get enough time to kind of cover some kind of basic thoughts, share some thoughts with you guys. And then monetizing is a whole nother kind of massive topic. There's loads of different ways of obviously monetizing a personal brand. But if we get ourselves to a point of understanding how we can build a personal brand and what our personal brand should be, then I think we can always do another episode on monetizing. I'm going to be sweating throughout this episode. Obviously, I'm in Dubai and I have lights shining on my face and I have not got the AC on because it will be too loud. So throughout this episode, you will see a very shiny forehead. I already have a decent forehead, and now you're going to see it all glittering. So I do apologize. You're going to look like I'm suffering. Fine. So with regards to your personal brand, essentially the way I describe it to people that I speak to is, and I had a consultation about 2 days ago, I said the same thing. You want to be known as the guy for this, or the girl for this, the person for this, the person for that. And what I mean by that is, if somebody says, productivity YouTuber, you're going to think of a few people and you're going to say, oh, that's the guy for that. If somebody says, Gary V, who is Gary V? You'll say, oh, he's the guy for giving business advice to people, for example. A good example in the Muslim world, because that's what we're going to be focusing on, obviously, the Muslim world, is I think HIF status do a great job. So I say it's very clear what HIF status do. And HIF status is basically like run by this one guy, right? And so you would look at HIF status and you say, oh, that's the guy for Quran memorization, for Hufadh to keep their HIF. So it's very easy to explain. There's a lot of kind of branding workshops. I know Chris Doe does one where kind of one of the goals in his workshop is for people to try and get what they do in their personal brand down to 2 words. So obviously we've all heard of an elevator pitch. Somebody said, what do you do? In an elevator pitch, you've got a few seconds. Imagine you're in an elevator with someone and you've got to tell them what you do. You've only got kind of 30 seconds or so. This is a more extreme version of the elevator pitch. Can you say what you do in 2 words? And he kind of helps individuals get to the point where they can do that. And that in itself is a huge part of personal branding, is when we talk about like where you should start and how to find what your personal brand should be and should look like. The end goal really is you should be able to say, oh, that's the guy for that. And in a more extreme version, explaining what you do in 2 words. Yeah? Okay. Yeah? Okay. So that's what a personal brand is. Now, why are we talking about building a personal brand? This is really important. So first of all, it can, of course, like we mentioned at the beginning, it can unlock the freedom to live a good life as a Muslim. Now, we are going to talk about the negatives in a second, because there are some. We'll talk about it in the next section, but let's just talk about the positives. It can unlock the freedom to live a good kind of Muslim life. And what I mean by that, of course, is being able to go to the masjid 5 times a day, running your own kind of one-man business or one-woman business, and leveraging your personal brand to monetize in ways that kind of work around your life. And when I think back to the seerah, and I'm no expert on the seerah, but when I think back to the seerah, I don't see the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba that everything was revolved around work. Everything was actually revolved around the message of Islam, right? And there was a greater purpose in life. And sometimes with us, I think our lives are revolved around work. It's not necessarily even our fault, because the world is now built in a way where you just feel like everything is like just a massive like rat race. Everything's a massive like, you just feel like money and taxes and everything has a cost to it and it's hard to keep up. So, nobody's to blame, but I think personal brand is one of the ways. If you build a successful personal brand, it's one of the ways to kind of be able to remove yourself from that and start living that life where, like I said, go to the masjid, be able to pick your kids up from school, actually give time to your children, raise the next generation of the ummah. And now more than ever, it's more important that our kids know kind of their principles, and also give time to yourself, to your family, give your wife her rights, give your husband his rights, and the Quran. Someone's working 40 hours a week. Of course, you've got plenty of time to give to the Quran and stuff. But imagine being able to do it on your own accord, building your own schedule, having your own calendar. And so that's one of the biggest advantage of building a personal brand. Bearing in mind, a personal brand isn't the only way to do that. That's just what we're talking about in this episode. So obviously there's running a business, and there's many great brothers like Abu Musa, for example, who give great advice on various ways of doing that. But this episode is about personal brands. Another reason we're talking about personal brands is that nowadays it's become the currency, whether we like it or not. It's a social currency. And so if you have a strong personal brand, it can open doors for you. that can lead to, like I said, a specific job. It can lead to opportunities where you can make money in easier ways. If you have an audience of 100,000 people who love what you do because you focus on a very specific thing, and then you launch a digital product around that thing, let's say like a course, and you just convert 2% of those individuals. You know, if the course is $300, let's speak in dollars. Why not? If the course is $300 and you sell it to 2% of your audience, then that's 2,000 people, and you've made £600,000 or dollars in a year. And so just with that one product, you've now made 600 grand. That's the reality of a personal brand. And it's the reality of many different brands, but of course, we're talking about personal brands. So it's a social currency. It can help open many doors, even if that's a job. I probably shouldn't say this, but I imagine that, like me being brought on board to the Teal team, a huge element of it was the personal brand as well. The network that I've been able to build through Freshly Grounded, through the personal brand and stuff like that. I'm sure it helped. I'm sure it wasn't the only reason, but I'm sure that it helped kind of jump aboard in the team. The work that we're doing at Wasia, again, same thing. Definitely having access to individuals, knowing that I have a network, helped me kind of jump on board as a partner of that company. So it can unlock opportunities. Another reason, this is probably a controversial one, but in some ways it's unavoidable. Now, I'm the first person to say that it is avoidable, to be honest, because there's been times where I've been really anti-social media, anti-personal brand. Still am, to be honest. There's times where I just want to leave for a bit, but in some ways it's unavoidable. And the world is going in a trajectory where everybody has, even if it's just a LinkedIn page. It doesn't mean, when I say building a personal brand, I don't necessarily mean that you have to be an influencer or whatever first comes to your mind. That doesn't have to be the way to do it. It can be having a great, strong LinkedIn profile, and that's your personal brand. It can be not having any social media, because branding, social media is just a platform or a vehicle to your personal brand. It doesn't have to be the personal brand at all. Many people have a personal brand without having social media. I don't know if Warren Buffett has a social media account, but if he does, I don't follow it. But yet he has a great personal brand because through his reputation, he's built it. People talk about him and stuff like that. So building personal brand does not necessarily mean maybe what comes to your mind straight away, that you're going to have to start doing brand deals and put your face all over social media. That's another thing to bear in mind. So they're the positives. Let's go into some of the negatives. So should you start a personal brand? The short answer, especially probably from the Islamic perspective, is no. That's the short answer, and it's probably a good default answer. Why? Because as we obviously know, seeking fame isn't good. We spoke about that hadith about the wolves before, that a flock of wolves, a flock of ravenous wolves who see a group of sheep unattended are less dangerous to those sheep than what money and fame are to the deen of a Muslim. And so you got to bear that in mind. That's really, really powerful. So the short answer is that it's not worth building a personal brand, which is crazy because that's what this episode is about, obviously. If you can avoid it, then avoid it. But there are ways of building a brand around yourself without having to be the face of it, without necessarily trying to seek fame or seeking fame even. A lot of sisters, for example, have asked about how to build a brand without being on camera. I think that's definitely possible. We've seen that in through loads of people. And nowadays, where we live in such a creative world, there are ways you can build a brand without, for example, ever having your face on it and having an alias, for example, and still being able to reap the benefits and the rewards. So these are things to bear in mind. Okay, so then if the short answer is no, if seeking fame isn't good, if it's going to be difficult, then why are we doing this episode? Well, like I said at the beginning, I think the key thing, the most important thing for me right now is pushing this idea that you can build the life that you want to build and still work in a job or run your own business, but be able to do it in a manner that is kind of more aligned with how you should live as a Muslim. And so I think personal branding is just one of those avenues. So one of the things that is really important to do, should you choose to go down this route or improve your personal brand or whatever, is think about your end goal. Your end goal should be to serve Allah, to provide for your children, to want to be free from like the 9 to 5, so that you can do those things. So it's very, very important to think about the end goal and to have that intention right. Obviously, intention is the most important thing with anything. So now that we've got all of that out of the way, that's kind of the intro done. Let's speak about how. So let's say, for example, you thought, right, this is something that I can do. I already have a skill or whatever. And if I build a personal brand around it, I can monetize it in a way that's a lot more easier than the traditional methods. If you already have a skill, then you can essentially skip this part, right? Let's say, for example, you're a barber, you're a dentist, you're a doctor, or you have like a passion for something, and that can be turned into a personal brand, then good for you. That's great. And I'd like to hope that that's a lot of you guys watching this episode. However, I'm sure for many of you, you're lost, especially if any of you are kind of just leaving university. I remember when I was leaving uni, you're like 21, 22, you've just done your degree. For your whole life, for the last 22 years, you've been in some kind of regime, you've been in some kind of structure. The word is kind of, I've gone blank, but you've been in structure, you've been in institutes, that's it, all your life. And it's kind of something that you can lean on. It's something that you can have as an excuse. You know, your parents aren't going to be asking what you're up to because they know that you're at uni. They're not going to be asking, have you done something productive because you're at university? And so now you're 21, you're 22, you're 23, you've left uni, and now you're out in the big wide world. And it's a very, very, very scary thing. And you think, well, okay, I've got in my case, criminology degree. You might say I've got a law degree or whatever, and I don't necessarily want to go into that field. I'm glad I've got it, but that's not what I want to do. And I don't know what I want to do, because all my life I've been told what to do, what the next step is, and now I don't have a next step. And that's scary because I've got maybe another 60 years to live, inshallah. One good way to figure out what you have to do, first of all, is some self-exploration. I don't think that means that you have to take a gap year and fly to Bali and Thailand and try loads of different things. I think, first of all, in the digital world, you can get an idea of things online. So definitely try loads of things. It doesn't mean you have to take a whole year out, spend loads of money to try loads of things. Watch a lot of content in the field of loads of different businesses. YouTube is a huge asset for those kind of things. I think like YouTube can be bad for a lot of things, but there's also, in the correct side of it, a lot of benefit that can be taken in that sense. See other people doing things that intrigue you. There's channels of people selling vending machines and vlogging it and showcasing how much money they make, and have a look at all of these different things. Try your hand at a few different things and see what you think you'd find fun. Ultimately, I think in like 2 weeks ago or last week in a podcast, Sean on MFM said a principle that I think is really, really, really good. And I think he had a tweet about this and it went viral. He said, if you don't know what to do, think about or you don't know what you're good at, if you're trying to figure it out, if you're trying to figure out your passion, think about what feels like play to you and work to others. And I think that was phenomenal. And that was really good. So if you have something that feels like play to you and work to others, that's your thing. And you can watch his full episode. I'll link it below or whatever, because I think it's worth watching. It's a powerful episode. I actually sent it to a few people. So think of what feels like work to you and play to others. And what essentially he was saying that he means by that is, if there's something that you do that other people don't like doing, but you love it, that's your thing. And so that could be, for example, for me, I enjoy, whether it's podcasting, building brands. For others, that sounds like horrible. They'd want to offset that to somebody else. And so that's your thing. The one thing that he did say is it can't be something that feels like play to you and play to others as well. So you can't say video games, because video games is play to you and it's play to others. So it has to feel like work to others. And so the reason he said that that's important, that's what you do, is because when something feels like play, you'll do it a lot. Okay, so I'm going to stop plagiarizing. Sean, now you can watch that full episode. So once you figured out what it is that you do and who you are, how do you create content and actually build a brand around it? Well, I think first of all, what you need to do, and this was advice given to me by Ali Abdal in our episode, is focus on one type of content and then expand as your community grows. You might, for example, think, well, I'll give the example that I was going to give a bit later, but I'll give the example of the conversation I had 2 or 3 days ago with a brother who's kind of trying to build his profile around fitness and health. Well, I said, what kind of things are you into? He said, fitness, nutrition, the sunnah way of living and eating and raising kids and in a manner that they kind of like understand health and nutrition. I said, this is all too much. What you want to do is you want to refine that down to 1 or 3 relating things. So fitness, health and nutrition. If you could even scale it down to 1, even better. And you create loads of content around that one specific thing. You start building community around that one thing, and then you start expanding out. When you have 0 followers and you're trying to do everything at once, it's going to be very hard to get something to stick. So that's very, very important. And then as you grow, you can expand. And that advice was given to me by Ali Abdal. Let's just look at his track record. So he started making videos about how to pass exams in medical school. All of his videos were around passing exams in medical school. Eventually, as his community grew, he started creating more content around things that were kind of relating to it, like creating content documenting his life as a medic. Then the same individuals who would watch stuff about passing exams would also watch stuff about productivity. So he created general productivity videos. From that, he went to money. And now he can make a video about anything. And he's got a loyal audience of like 4 million people who watch it. But you must start with one type of content. Consistency is important. So this brother that I was speaking to a few days ago, one of his things was, I want to create content, but I don't have a high quality camera. And I said, what's more important than a high quality camera is consistency. Because people build great brands creating content with just their iPhone. And in fact, a lot of the algorithms these days, especially on TikTok, actually push lower quality video more than they do high quality video, because they want you to be able to create content as fast and as much as possible, and they know that is done with your phone, and therefore they'll push more phone content. So more people see phone content, they want to recreate phone content, they're using phone content. So you'll notice a trend over the last few years that a lot of like lower quality content has done better, whereas in the past, everything had to look cinematic. And there's also a space for that, to be honest, but it's definitely acceptable to create lower quality content. So much so that at Tartil, we were analyzing a few different organizations in the non-Muslim world, a few organizations, ads that they were putting out. And we noticed that they were like purposefully reducing the quality of their content so that it performed better. Imagine that. The quality of the content they were reducing it, making it look worse so that it could perform better. So you don't need necessarily quality. Consistency at this point is more important. And you can also create quality in other means, not necessarily through the quality of how you're creating video. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, like, when people have Samsungs and it's like on their Instagram story, it's like their face is like stretched and pixelated. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that you probably have a phone that's good enough to create content. So you shouldn't worry about quality. And you can add quality in other aspects, like using some of these AI templates that allow you to subtitle on your phone. Or I think CapCut is a recent new huge breakthrough in terms of like video editing on your phone and stuff like that. So you can still have subtitles and memes come up on the screen and stuff like that, but you don't need to necessarily invest in a £3,000 camera. Sometimes we overthink things. So earlier I mentioned Warren Buffett, his business, Berkshire. So if you look at his business, Berkshire Hathaway, if you Google it, their website is berkshirehathaway.com. I dare you guys right now to pause the episode or to open up a new tab if you're not driving and go to berkshirehathaway.com, Google Berkshire Hathaway and check their website. This guy is one of the richest men in the entire world. Investments in Coca-Cola and Geico and so on and so forth. And his website, for those of you who are driving, is a plain white background with bullet points of the businesses that he's invested in and messages from him, standard links with like Helvetica font, and that's it. It's a one pager, and there's no nav bar. You can't go anywhere else from it. So that's a perfect example of sometimes we overthink things. Just get started. Now, what kind of content you create does depend on the end result you want. So obviously, even though we're not talking necessarily about monetization in this episode, we are alluding to it. It is the obvious reason why we want to create content, so that we can live that life, right? Well, in that case, if you know what your end result is, if you know what you want to sell, then even better, because then you can start creating content that starts being geared towards that audience. If you don't know, it's fine. Still create content, build that brand, and then you can kind of refine that. But let's say, for example, if you're a dentist and your end result is that you want to consult other dentists, you want to do B2B. So you want to, on Zoom calls or whatever, spend an hour, they pay you, and you teach them how to build a great dentist practice, or how to better serve their customers. Well, then the content that you start creating and the content that you're creating now is going to be geared towards teaching things to dentists. Whereas, and so that could be stuff like, like these new tools, are these new tools as good as people are raving on about? But those tools are only going to be things that the people in the dentist world know about, other dentists. Or how can you get your first dentistry job after university? You'd create that kind of content. If, however, you want to create more content and build a personal brand so that you can get more customers, then your content will be more so geared towards teaching people things like hygiene and more generic things. Is this toothbrush what it's hyped up to be? How to brush your teeth properly? What people are doing wrong when it comes to brushing their teeth? Stuff like that from a dentist. If you're a barber, exact same. Barber's a barber. Building a personal brand around barbering, I think, is one of the most exciting things that a person can do if you're already a barber, because there's so much you could do. And I think that there's more things that people could do to make it different. Obviously, there's this one guy who's absolutely smashed it on YouTube and TikTok. Not sure of his name, but he's the guy who goes around. He's on the street, asks people if they want a haircut, and then he has a conversation with them. And the great thing about it is the conversation while he's giving a haircut. Guess what nobody ever looks at? The haircut. And he's figured it out, right? Because so many barbers, their whole Instagram feed is just videos of haircuts. Now, if you're like a men's spa or something, that's phenomenal. It works really well. They've managed to smash it because they've got this like exclusive look where everyone just looks like a model, right? But if that's not your brand, if, for example, you're just trying to get more customers in a personal brand, maybe that's not the best approach. Why? If you're just filming loads of people's hairs, the only people who are going to appreciate that is other barbers. Because I, as a layman who just wants to get his haircut, I'm not necessarily going to follow someone who's just got loads of pictures of haircuts and who can really appreciate the intricacies of a great haircut. What I want to be sold by your personality. I want to get a haircut. That seems like an experience. Like his shop looks really cool. I want to get my haircut there. It looks like a really comfortable place to get a haircut. Or it sounds like he has great conversation. Or he comes across really trustworthy. I feel like if he messes up my hair, he would like fix it and not be offended if I ask him to. So you really want to get your personality across. I think that's something that a lot of people do wrong when they have a skill, like, for example, being a barber. We'll go into that a bit more because I was meant to save that example. Okay, so other things to bear in mind in this technique section is the importance of authenticity in personal branding. So you can definitely take inspiration. I think every form of content is inspiration from content before. With Freshly Grounded, we have been inspired by so many different individuals, and every time you can tell that we've taken inspiration from other places. But what makes us authentic? Well, what makes us authentic is we try and stick to the idea that we're serving Muslims to live a successful life. And that's always been kind of a pattern. And we've tried to be very, very conscious and conservative about that. Whether we do that successfully or not, obviously, is a different story. But that's our aim, right? So the importance of authenticity. And then on the topic of technique, of creating content, And I know we haven't been very specific with the type of content that a person would create, but when you're creating content, one of the biggest tools that you can have in your back pocket is the idea of repurposing content. So I think Gary Vee put out a PDF a couple of years ago, and it was about how you can turn like one, I can't remember now because it was so, it was a while back, but it was like how you can turn like one piece of content into like 27 pieces of content. And it opened your eyes up to seeing where you're missing content opportunities. Let's break it down. Let's say, for example, you create a podcast or a long-form YouTube video. Let's take the example of a barber cutting hair again. So the long-form YouTube video is him talking about the different tools that a barber uses for beginner barbers. That's his niche, right? Teaching beginner barbers, and this video is particular to loads of tools. Well, that long-form video is great, but he could first of all turn that into a short form video, so chop it up into loads of 30 seconds different clips for Instagram Reels and for TikTok and for YouTube Shorts. He could also take the gist of that discussion, that video, and turn it into a blog. So now what have we got? We've got one piece of content. Now he's turned it into Instagram Reels, TikTok, and YouTube. So that's 3. Now, if you add the YouTube video, that's 4. That's 4. One piece of content is now turned into 4 different contents. Now you turn it into a blog article. And with ChatGPT, and I'm sure with ChatGPT, what you could probably do, and do this instantly, is you could take that YouTube video, download it. You'd already have it because it's yours. You'd put that YouTube video into something like Otter.ai, I think it is, where they transcribe a video, and maybe there's free services as well, but Otter is the one I know. So it transcribes your video, so it basically turns everything that you said into text. You can then copy that, paste it into ChatGPT, and ask ChatGPT to turn it into a blog, and you've just got a blog article. You haven't had to put any work in. So that's 5 now. Then you can turn that blog article into tweets. Again, you get ChatGPT to help you. So turn this blog article into a bunch of tweets. So now you've got tweets. That's 6. Now you've got 6 pieces of content from one piece of content. What else? What else can you turn that into? Oh, LinkedIn posts. You turn your blog into LinkedIn posts. Then you got from video. You've also got video, a text. And you got video and text, right? You could turn it into an image. You could get the key points for it and turn it into a carousel post. So we've here, just off the top of our noggins, been able to turn one video into 8 different style of posts. And what you've done there is you've been able to reach a large audience. So, and that's just about talking about the tools. And for someone like yourself who listening to this, who already has knowledge on something, who already has skill on something, you can just blurt this stuff out in your sleep. So that's something worth considering. Okay, let's talk about some practical examples. So in practical examples, I actually wrote down Barber because I wanted to talk a bit about it, but I've kind of like rinsed that bit. Is there anything that I wrote in those notes that I haven't kind of mentioned? Not really. Yeah, so let's, if we use that Barber example, you can decide how you're creating content. You can kind of try and find a gap in the market as well. So if there's loads of barbers doing what I already said, which is like, for example, the guy who's cutting people's hair on the street and having a great conversation, maybe your niche could be something else specific where you're teaching the best tools and your whole thing is about the different tools. By the way, I don't know if it exists already, but there should 100% be a newsletter for barbers. If there's not already, I would create it because I think it would smash it. I think you could get to about 5,000 followers and then sell the business. But if you're in the barbering world, 100% you should do that. And just teaching, just keeping on top of like the latest techniques and tools in the barbering world. Actually, I might do that. That's such a sick idea. I don't know if I have any more space in my weekends. But if you're passionate about that, you could do that. By the way, remember I said that you could build a personal brand and not show your face? Newsletters is a perfect way you could do that. It could be like Seth Godin, the guy who is like known as like, you know, the genius in the world of digital marketing. He hasn't built his personal brand by doing loads of Instagram posts. He's built his personal brand by having a blog called Seth.blog, where every single day he writes a blog. So you could do it through a newsletter or tweets. There's so many people. There's a guy called Matthew, Gary, I can't remember. But I don't know if he has Instagram or YouTube, but if he has, it's useless because I know everything about him through his Twitter feed. He's built this brand on Twitter. And so he doesn't have to show his face. It's in your writing. The personal brand is built off your writing. So that's something to bear in mind when we said you don't have to show your face. Again, a fitness person. So there's so many different places you could go as a fitness person. You can go into nutrition, building muscle, losing weight, fitness for specific types of individuals. There's so many ways you could take it. Start with one and then like build it out. Obviously, bear in mind that we're talking about Muslims here, so especially in the fitness world, you've got to be careful for making sure that you're not, falling into impermissible things by like showing body parts or whatever. Let's say you're a developer. This is an interesting one because I imagine a lot of developers, engineers probably think I can't build a personal brand. Of course you can. So if you're building it for let's say, for example, you want to get a job in a big tech industry, a big tech company. You could create content every day giving hacks and tips in developing or analyzing the latest kind of, I don't know about engineering, but like code or ChatGPT just come out, like what does that mean for engineers and stuff like that. Eventually you'll become known in that space, and so that would actually work really great in your advantage when you're looking for a job, I imagine. And if you're not looking for a job and you're looking to jump on board as like a partner, or obviously there's other ways of making money as once you build a personal brand, like monetizing your own kind of stuff, right? But we spoke about this enabling you to open doors to having the lifestyle that we want as Muslims, and by kind of having this like extra bit of ammo behind you of having this like great personal brand, a great network, being a leader in your space, it allows you to demand more. So even if you want to go into a job, you can maybe you can look for specific remote jobs or negotiate your way to being a remote, and so on and so forth. All right, so we've done 38 minutes. Let's talk about fields that I think that you could smash in personal branding in the Muslim world. So places where I've seen kind of gaps in the market. Now, if you're saying like why specifically to Muslim worlds, I did a podcast episode on this like years ago, it was called something like why I think that we should focus on Muslim businesses or Muslim brands or whatever. And the point was like, look, I'll give a quick like overview. Mufti Munir said something to me once, which I think was powerful in an episode, he said, sometimes you just, or I can't remember if this was to me. Yeah, I think it was in an episode, or it was another episode of another podcast. But he said, sometimes a Muslim just has to accept that there's some things that he just can't do. And that was monumental for me. Because I always had this dilemma of, do I want to create something that's going to take over the world, like the next big thing in tech, or do we want to be the biggest podcast in the world, or are we okay just being the biggest podcast in the Muslim world, for example, or trying to achieve that? And he gave it in the context of a barbershop. I don't know why. I think barbering is such an easy model to speak about in terms of branding, because barbering is all about branding, to be honest. There's like so many barbers that exist, and things that separate barbers really is how great their brand is, in my opinion. But anyway, so he was talking about barbershops. We were asking about barbershops at the time, and he said something like, let's say, for example, the trend is that you have music playing in the shop and pictures up, and that you're cutting hair in kind of, or you're giving services that maybe are un-Islamic or whatever. He said there's an argument to be made that perhaps if you don't do it, that the Muslims will go to like somewhere far worse. But he said there's also an argument to be made for sometimes a Muslim just has to accept that there's some things that we just can't do, and that's fine, because guess what, our end result is not to take over the world with our business. Our end result is to die knowing that we died on the path of the haqq. And so that's our end result. And to be honest, Even me, I forget that so often. And so that's why I'm like talking about this in the Muslim world, because I think that the goal for a lot of us has always been to think big, and I think my argument now is think small. You can make millions thinking small. Millions. And again, we just explained it. Like, if 2% of your audience on a newsletter buy a $300 course, you've made 600 grand in a year. That's 1.2 million in 2 years. And so if a person says that they can't live a comfortable life off 1.2 million in 2 years, maybe they're looking at it in the wrong way, or their priorities aren't straight. I don't know. I'm not saying that for sure, but that's something to bear in mind. So where were we at? That's kind of what I was speaking about in that episode. I was saying that in the past, I was trying to figure out ways where we can build businesses for everyone. And I went through a change where I thought, no, do you know what? I'm comfortable knowing that, the pond is only so big, and that's fine. And actually, I prefer to do things in the Muslim world because I want to serve Muslims, and I want to encourage Muslims to live an Islamic life to the best of their ability, to the best of our ability. We're all sinners, and we ask Allah to protect us and cover us. But that's what I kind of was mentioning in that video. So fields that I think that you could smash in personal branding in the Muslim world. Things that I think that people haven't smashed yet. First one, homeschooling expert. It might exist, but is anyone smashing it? I don't know, maybe. I'm not in that world to know it enough, but I don't know about NFL. I know nothing about NFL, actually, despite the fact that I'm actually wearing an NFL t-shirt. I know nothing about NFL, but guess what? I know who Tom Brady is. I think everybody here has heard of Tom Brady. So that means that even though I'm not into it, he must be smashing it enough in his field that his personal brand is big enough where everyday people have heard of his name. He's a household name still, right? So I don't know. I don't know if anyone's smashing it in homeschooling. They probably are, but I think there is still a gap in the market to be like the shark in that world and just building great homeschooling personal brand. Muslim travel vloggers, I think that's huge. I remember when Ali was doing halal. What was it? Not Made Halal. That was us. Not Halal Food Diary. Halal dining. I think it was years ago. Great idea. So Muslim travel vloggers. There could be a Muslim travel vlogger who's just traveling the world and rating, as sharing their experience from the Muslim perspective. Was it easy to pray anywhere when I was in public? Was it? Would they facilitate, a hotel room that didn't have images, or so on and so forth, and then rating them, and I think that would work really well. And I think a company like, what's that company called, Halal Booking or something like that's. Imagine a company like Halal Booking would love that as either a sponsor to sponsor that person if they smashed it, or to acquire it. So there's those things. So Muslim travel vloggers. Entrepreneurs building in public, I'd put an asterisk on this one and say that obviously, again, if we're trying to be as close to Sunnah as possible, you don't want to like share everything that you're doing, share your plans before you've kind of executed them and stuff like that. But building in public is huge, and I think there's definitely space for it. Like entrepreneurs motivating Muslims to build in public as well. Muslim entrepreneurs showing their the challenges that they have, so people can be inspired by them. Oh, we wanted to do this. We want to take this loan out, but the only way to do it was in a riba way, so we didn't do it. And I'd love to follow a journey like that from someone who's established. Money people. I know there's a few different money influencers in the Muslim world, but it's such a big category. There's so much space for others to talk about specific money matters. So there can be someone who talks specifically about personal debt. There can be someone who specifically speaks about personal finance or corporate finance, or just day-to-day stuff, right? Or how to get the best deal on things, and this kind of thing. So there's some of the fields that I think that people could smash it in. Where are we at with this episode? I think that's a good time to kind of like conclude and to recap, right? So what did we speak about? We kind of brushed over a few bits. We brushed over what a personal brand is, or what a brand is, and we spoke about why you would want to build a personal brand, why you wouldn't want to build a personal brand, things to be conscious of, how to create one type of content and then expand out, how to find what you're good at, some practical examples of barbers and dentists, developers, engineers, and then we looked at some fields that we think can be infiltrated in the Muslim world. I also want to reinforce the idea that personal branding, it can provide opportunities for Muslims to live in a fulfilling way, a fulfilling life, whilst also contributing to society. I want you guys to go away from this episode and reflect on your passions, your skills, areas of expertise. Think about where you can create content that is in line with the Quran and Sunnah still, but that can help you build that brand. So again, newsletters, tweets, that's a great way of doing it if you don't want to necessarily put your face or your name out there. And I think it's proven now that that can be successful. I want to also emphasize the significance of authenticity, consistency and perseverance. Building a brand that resonates with the audience and focusing on community, having sincerity and remembering the overall goal of life, which is to please Allah. And I think that's a good thing to end it on. Just that, there's the narration about having love for things in your hand and not your heart. I think a lot of us need that reminder with regards to work and money and business, that we want to build great things, but remember what the reason is and the intention is. And we want to have it in our hand and not in our heart. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It's a bit of a different one, but I enjoy doing these episodes. I don't know if you guys do. Comment below, let me know, inshallah. And we'll see you next time on Freshly Grounded. Assalamu alaikum.